able to disclose anything further about the Epstein investigation and files, and that there's no evidence of a broader conspiracy or other people who should be charged, because the American people aren't buying that you've been transparent or that there's nothing further to be seen. In your exchange with my colleague, Mr. Roy, you reiterated something that I heard you say yesterday in your Senate testimony, and that is, under your direction, the FBI will always follow the money. Is that right?
The money, did you say? Yes.
Yes, you said you'll follow the money. That's great. And just now you said you welcome the opportunity to investigate new evidence. So there has been significant recent reporting just in the last couple of weeks that after Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, 4 major banks flagged more than $1.5 billion in suspicious transactions connected to him that suggested a massive conspiracy related to his child sex trafficking activities. Director Patel, has the FBI reviewed the $1.5 billion in suspicious bank transactions flagged to the government relating to Epstein and his co-conspirators?
I know the FBI has reviewed numerous SARs. I don't know the totality of that number.
Okay, can you provide us with that number?
I'll get back to you.
Okay. And have you initiated any new investigation of those bank transactions since, say, September 8th, when the new reporting came out?
I'll check with the Treasury Department because they're the lead on that.
Okay, so Director Patel, how many individuals or entities has the FBI interviewed, subpoenaed, or compelled to testify? Can you give us those numbers with respect to these bank transactions?
Not off the top of my head. I'll have to work with Treasury.
Okay. We're concerned, you see, because you say you're going after child predators, but
we are.
Obviously this is how you follow the money, is if you follow the bank transactions that apparently enabled the child sex trafficking. Would you agree?
It's one of the valuable investigative tools is to follow the money.
Okay. Have Jeffrey Epstein's victims have asked us to ask you whether or not you've investigated Epstein's lawyers, the lawyers who facilitated those payments. Have you subpoenaed or questioned any of those lawyers?
So in 2018 and 19, what I recollect is many, if not every one of those lawyers was part of the investigation.
But you weren't there at that time,
I wasn't
right?
there.
Okay. So can you get us the names and the numbers of who was investigated then with respect to those lawyers?
As long as I'm allowed to release it, absolutely.
Okay. Well, if we provide you with subpoenas, I assume you can release it. Is that right?
We have a current subpoena and we're working with Congress to provide it.
Okay. You've said that the Acosta investigation had an original sin. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
Basically, if you're looking at an actual pedophile ring, what you should not do is limit the time frame in which you're legally able to collect information. So search warrants that Mr. Acosta utilized in 2006 and 7 leading to the 2008 plea agreement had a very specific narrow window of years, I think 3 or 4 years. And so information pursuant to legal process wasn't collected for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. It also, subpoenas were not sent out to hundreds of witnesses at the time, hundreds of victims at the time. None of that was done. None of these people were put in grand juries. And so the totality of information from the jump, instead of being this big, was like this. And that, in my opinion, is not how you run an investigation if you're trying to break a sex trafficking ring.
So you're now in charge of the FBI. Why haven't you done that investigation?
Great question. And here's the answer. Simply because I am not able to go back 20 years and collect information that the courts had decided was already subject to search warrants. They have said this was in the investigation. There's a non-prosecution agreement out of that plea. And when the case was reopened, and this is where it comes into play, when the case was reopened in 2018 and 2019, the search warrants, again, were limited to the conduct of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's a different discussion. But I'm telling you, that's the information we reviewed.
Well, I think that is a different discussion. And I think the discussion we'd like to have today is why you aren't following the money with respect to the broader conspiracy that it has been reported in the New York Times and elsewhere. And that if you really want to attack the issue, if you wanted to attack the issue, if you wanted to get to the bottom of it, if you wanted to disclose what really was involved in the Epstein files, the Epstein cover-up, that you would be taking very different actions that you are today. I do want to seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the New York Times September 8th, 2025 article, How J.P. Morgan Enabled the Crimes of Jeffrey Epstein.
Objection.
And also an article dated July 17th, 2025 in the Epstein case, Follow the Money.
Objection.
Okay, thank you.
Gentlelady yields back.
Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you much. Pursuant to Clause 2K6 of Rule 11, I move that the committee subpoena the CEOs of 4 banks, J.P. Morgan, that's Jamie Dimon.
Pennsylvania is questioning Director Patel of the FBI. She's clearly frustrated that the FBI isn't being transparent about the Epstein investigation. She presses Patel on whether the Bureau is really following the money, especially after reports that 4 major banks flagged over $1.5 billion in suspicious transactions linked to Epstein and his associates. Scanlon's like, if you say you follow the money, why aren't you following this? Patel admits he doesn't have all the numbers handy and says Treasury is the lead on those financial cases. He promises to get back to her, but doesn't give specifics. Then she hits harder, asking if Epstein's lawyers or people who helped move that money have been questioned. Patel says that some were investigated back in 2018 to 2019, but that was before his time. When asked about the original sin of the Epstein investigation, Patel explains that the original prosecutors in the 2000s only looked at a narrow time frame. He basically says, the foundation of the case was weak from the start. Bad warrants, limited evidence collection, and missed witnesses. Scanlon ends by saying, if you really wanted to get to the truth, you'd be following the money now. Whoa. Miss Scanlon came prepared. She wasn't just asking questions. She was cross-examining. The tone was sharp, almost like she was saying, we're not buying the PR anymore. And honestly, she's got a point. If there's over $1 billion in suspicious Epstein-linked transactions, the public deserves to know who was involved and why that wasn't fully investigated. Director Patel sounded cautious, maybe too cautious. You can tell he doesn't want to overstep legal boundaries, but it also feels like the system has built-in excuses for never reopening this stuff. I think the biggest ouch moment was when he admoused, he can't go back 20 years because of legal limitations. Like, that's exactly how powerful people avoid justice. Time runs out, evidence gets stale, and the truth gets buried. This whole exchange reminds us that transparency isn't optional. It's essential for public trust. Whether it's Epstein or anything else, justice doesn't expire just because the calendar turns. And for all of us watching, don't just move on when these stories fade from the headlines. Keep asking questions, keep following the money, and don't let "we'll get back to you" be the final answer. What do you think? Was Miss Scanlon being fair, or was she grandstanding? Do you believe the FBI will ever truly expose the Epstein network? Drop your thoughts below. I read every single comment. If you liked this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and ring that for more raw, real, and respectful reactions right here on my shock filer. Let's keep digging for the truth, together.